Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 165 of the 815 Exchange. And listen, man, we got Canelo, we got the week in college football, which for some of y'all, I'm sure it was a great week, but for me it was, we'll get to it, alright? That's the first segment of the day as always. And of course we got the NFL, and of course we got some stuff to talk about in the Roundup, like the MLB playoff brackets being finalized. So plenty of stuff to talk about in the world of sports and entertainment. Oh yeah, and Drake drops next week, but we'll talk about that in entertainment. But yes, alright, we got plenty to talk about. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys enjoying the content. And as always, anything you were looking for can be found in the description, whether that's timestamps, which also should be embedded in the video. Timestamps are in the description, along with my social media links if you want to follow me there. But yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get it. Y'all know where we start, man. It's college football. We not wasting any time on this intro, man. College football. Now, we'll start off easy, okay? Oregon State, Utah. Not that bad for me. In fact, good news. Not that it really matters yet because, we still haven't played the team that lost in this game. But still, one of the elites of the Pac-12 falls, all right? Utah. I mean, it was inevitable. No Cam Rising yet for another week. Utah, once again, we've been calling them Red Iowa. It was going to fall down, all right? The crown, the glass throne, it was going to fall down at some points, and it was to Oregon State. Now, this was the Silas Bolden game. We're going to be talking about a lot of running backs this week, all right? So if you're running back, this is a really good week for you in college football. But yes, we're going to be talking about a lot of backs. Silas Bolden. 153 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. He had 6 receptions for 100 yards as well. But yes, Silas Bolden, he was that guy. He was that guy for Oregon State. This was a very good defensive game on both sides, for both teams. Even for Utah. I mean, they only gave up 21 points. It's not that bad. Bolden had a hell of a game, but overall, I mean, you still had Jonah Ellis, who we've been talking about every single week, needs to be in Lombardi, Bednarik. He needs to be in all of those conversations. He needs to be in the group, all of them, as one of the best defensive players in the country, because that is what he's been this year. He still had 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2.5 TFLs. He still had a great game. Jonah still had a great game, but like I said, Silas Bolden could not be stopped. 153 and 2 touchdowns for him. EMA as well, 9 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pick for Oregon State. DJU had no turnovers this week. Nate Johnson. He showed them glimpses week 1, but he's not that guy. 8 for 23 in this game. Again, credit to Oregon State's defense. The Beavers did a really, really good job against Utah. Not that, again, Utah's offense is really that great right now with, Kuthi out, with Rising out. I mean, that's the foundation of their offense out. So again, not the most daunting task, but still a hell of a performance and a good rebound after Oregon State lost to Wazoo last week, getting it one back in blood versus Utah. And again, the cannibalism starts in the Pac-12. So let's talk about it. My pain. USC in Colorado fared off. Finally, the hotly anticipated matchup. Caleb Williams, Shedeur Sanders. We thought it was going to be Zach Branch and Travis Hunter, but both of them were injured and out. Same thing with Max Williams and Shiloh Sanders. So I guess equal footing on a sense of injuries in terms of star talent. But nonetheless, USC still is a much better team than Colorado. You wouldn't have known if you watched the second half of that game. And I did. I did. As we had the 12 o'clock game, at least here on the East Coast. On the West Coast, it was very, very well into the morning. And, a lot of people would think maybe we would have, because it was so early in the morning, we'd have a rougher start. But no, we started off great. We started off really, really well. I don't know what in the hell happened in the second half, but oh my goodness. Alex Grinch. Alexander Grinch does not listen. I really hate to be one of those people to wish ill on somebody and to wish them to not have employment. But Alexander Grinch should not have a job. Alex Grinch has no point. I know Lincoln continues. I don't know what Alex Grinch has on Link, by the way. He must know where the bodies are hidden. He must know, Link must have done something absolutely inconceivable to have Alex Grinch still on this staff. There is no reason, there is no defensible reason why, which is ironic to say when we're talking about Alex Grinch, talking about defense, because there is none with Alex Grinch. There is no reason for him to still be the defensive coordinator of this team. USC is not a serious team, cannot be taken seriously with Alex Grinch as their defensive coordinator. I don't care who our quarterback is. I don't care if we have God himself come down, descended upon, taking physical form as our quarterback, having a perfect rating every time. We are not a serious team with Alex Grinch as our defensive coordinator. We're not. Simply put, we are not. I mean, just despicable. It is a waste. It is a waste. It is a waste of another season with Caleb Williams, who, by the way, for the numbers, went 30 for 40 in this game, 403, 6 touchdowns, threw one absolutely horrific pick, which was basically like a heat check that he still shouldn't have thrown because it altered the momentum of this game. And we let up, which we cannot do. We don't get the liberty of when we score 40, 50 points. We don't get to let up off the gas. You know why? Because we have Alex Grinch as our defensive coordinator, which is being generous because, once again, there's no defense with Alex Grinch. I don't even know if he knows he's the defensive coordinator. I think he's just out there for vibes because he's Lincoln's boy. I don't think we should be ranked. 48-41. I don't think we should be ranked. I don't know if we're one of the... We have an incredible offense, but I don't know if we legitimately... Why are we ranked? We're going to get... Woo! We're going to get to what Washington did this week, and they weren't great either. But it won't matter, because Michael Penix is going to have a field day. Roma Deuce is going to have a field day when we play Washington. A field day. We're going to make Bo Nix look like Tom Brady. Or, Troy Franklin? You remember how I said last week, after Colorado game, maybe people are more woken up on Troy Franklin, who once again had another terrific week because Troy Franklin is one of them ones. Oh, everybody's going to know who Troy Franklin is after Oregon plays USC. Trust and believe. Same thing with Bucky Irvine. His team is, oh my gosh. I mean, I can't. We are a joke. We are a joke. It was incredible to see the hope disappear from my soul and from every other, at least on the internet, USC's fans, as we watched them climb from 41-14. The game should be over at 41-14. Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter fighting for our lives because we got Shador looking like Shador again. Because we can't stop anybody. We got to score 50, 60, 70 points every week. Caleb might win the Heisman again because he has to. For us to be a competitive team, he has to. And if Lincoln wants to continue to die on his best friend's shield, it's going to cost him his job no matter how brilliant he is. Because next year, and I really do, I really hope Malachi is the truth and he ends up being a star. But boy, oh boy, this team is cooked next year. When Caleb runs off to whichever team picks him first overall in the draft, cooked. There won't be anybody to save us next year. There won't be anybody. What if we can't score 50, 60 points every game? What happens when that happens? Huh? Defense can't stop anybody. They're not going to win us games. And we won't have Caleb to be Superman. What's going to happen then? Alex Grinch's defense miraculously going to turn up? No. No, it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened at Ohio State. It didn't happen at Oklahoma. And it's not happening now. Alex Grinch is not that guy, but for whatever reason, we stick by him. So unless the AD steps in and fires him, I think USC is just in purgatory again. A slightly better, honestly a much better purgatory than Clay Helton, don't get me wrong, but still purgatory. We'll have great offenses, electrifying offenses. I mean, the USC offense, oh my goodness. You got Caleb Williams, future #1 overall pick, might win back-to-back Heismans, an all-time great collegiate quarterback. We got two of the greatest offensive minds of the 21st century, Cliff Kingsbury, Lincoln Riley. I mean, multiple Heismans, multiple #1 overall picks, multiple MVPs in the league. But this USC defense? A joke. A joke. A joke. A blank space fused with a toddler. That's the resistance. Omarion Miller, in his first game of his career, by the way, he's going to be a really good player still. But first game, he goes 7 receptions, 196, and a touchdown. Horn had 7, 84, and 2. Michael Harrison continues to be great for Colorado. He had 6, 44, and 1. Shedeur had 421 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick, and what ended up being a redemption game for him. Taj Washington had 8 receptions, 117, and a touchdown for us. Brendan Rice continues to be great. He had 5 receptions, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Marshawn Lloyd had 84 yards and a touchdown, which still isn't enough compared to what Colorado had been doing defensively. But honestly, Colorado was better defensively than us, so I can't really say too much. If they have, honest to God, if they have Travis Hunter, we lose this game. And I'm having a much worse rant. The only saving grace is that we did win, if you want to call us a win. Oh, but if they'd had Travis in this game, and we still had no Zach, we'd be the laughing stock of the country. And it's going to happen sooner than later. And it might not even be to a Washington or it might be next week versus Arizona. It might be. Because I don't know if we can stop T-Mac and Noah Fafita. I'm sorry, Dorian Singer might lose to his old team. Because we don't have a defense. Because we continue to die on this non-existent hill of Alex Grinch. Tarmac him. He should have been tarmacked, bro. Tarmacked. Pitiful. Pitiful. I can't even say it'd be worse to be a Florida fan, even though y'all have lost now 3 straight years to Kentucky. But, you know, UK. This was the Ray Davis game. All right, that was a really rough transition. But anyways, this was the Ray Davis game, okay? He had 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Shout out to Sweet Ray, man. I think that's what they call Sweet Baby Ray. Cooking. He had 200 at halftime. he had 200 at halftime. Florida, listen, and honestly, Graham Mertz, by the way, who is on pace to break Florida's completion record. I can't even, I can somewhat put it on him because he's not a star. You know, he's not a quarterback that's really necessarily going to win you games. But y'all got straight up outplayed. Kentucky with a masterclass. And like I said, Ray Davis went wild. Wild on Florida. And yeah, simply put, that's all we need to say about this game is Ray Davis. Shout out to you because, just went ballistic. Georgia. Now listen, Audier Auburn, we know the stories, we know the tells. They are a dangerous team. You know who else is dangerous? There is that S tier of players, in college football. You got Caleb Williams, who we've talked about. We've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who everybody knows. And of course, as you should know if you follow college football, there's another man in that tier. And his name is Brock Bowers. Because he put Georgia on his back in this game. He put them on his back. The Jordan Hare voodoo was in full effect. Audier Auburn. Carson Beck was not doing... Georgia's going to get clipped. I think Georgia's going to get clipped. The defense is great right away, and they were great in this game. Smell Molden, 11 tackles, 1 sack, 2 TFLs. Malachi Starks, who had a pick in this game. Javon Bullitt, they were great. All right, the defense is still great for Georgia, but Beck is not even Stetson, okay? He's not going to win you games, and I don't know if they necessarily bar Brock doing Superman stuff like he did in this game. I don't know. I think Georgia's going to get clipped, but they survived this week, simply put, because of Brock Bowers. 8 receptions, 157, and a touchdown. He was unstoppable. He honestly had more than that. There was that one-handed catch that got called back, but he was that guy. He's going to be one of those top 10 tight ends. He could probably even justify top 5. That's how good he is. He is absolutely special, and we are only a couple months away from fantasy owners complaining about him not getting enough touches. But Brock Bowers is absolutely a generational tight end prospect, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, because he carried. He absolutely won them this game. Dewan Edwards, though, I do also have to give a shout out to. He had 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. Peyton Thorne, he wasn't awful, but he wasn't necessarily good. Once again, the Georgia defense is good, but Peyton Thorne's not that guy. He ain't that guy. We know this. Auburn, he's not that guy. All right, Auburn's got the voodoo this year, and I think that's going to lift them a little bit, but Auburn is not that great of a team this year. The SEC as a whole is down, but you know what? Brock Bowers. All right, this is the week of one player just carrying a team. All right, we've talked about Caleb, Ray, Brock Bowers, and now we're gonna talk about Jonathan Brooks for Texas. Hook 'em horns. Texas is back. If it was a doubt, I don't know if there's any more doubt after this week. Now, Kansas. One day, Jalen Daniels will be able to play in a big game, and we'll actually get to see Kansas at full effect with the start. One day it'll happen. I don't know when it's gonna happen, or if it actually ever. But one day, one day JD will be able to play in a game that actually matters, and it won't be this one though. And Texas beat the brakes off of Kansas. They exercised some demons in this game. 40-14, they get the win. Jonathan Brooks, by the way, just an absolutely dominant game. 218 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Quinn Ewers as well, 365, 3 touchdowns and a pick. A.D. Mitchell, 10 receptions, 141 and a touchdown. And, of course, the number one man, Xavier Worthy, Uno himself, had 7 receptions and 93 yards. That Texas offense is rolling. All right, they are rolling. Texas looks good. They look good. Sark has done a really good job. They believed. Even with all the expectations, right, of them being Texas and, them not necessarily clicking instantly, and we've been Texas is one of the most scrutinized teams, especially the past decade. They have been one of the most scrutinized teams in college football. There's a lot of pressure that comes with playing in Austin, and they have weathered that, and now they're starting to flourish. They have looked like one of the best teams in the country. You could honestly argue it should be Michigan 1, Texas 2. You have an argument for Texas as the number 1 team. So credit where credit is due. Hook 'em horns. They've been cooking. John Brooks absolutely took over this game. A masterclass from him. Well done. Before I lose my, before this segment, in terms of my camera footage, goes out, let me talk about the game of the week, though, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't USC Colorado, even though that game was very, very close and not good for my health at all. No. It was an SEC matchup between Ole Miss and LSU. Now, last week, we called out Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins. We said, man, Judkins and Dart, they were supposed to be all this stuff, and it just hasn't happened, right? They hadn't showed up. They haven't answered the bell. They answered the bell this week. Jackson Dart and QJ answered the bell. And boy, did they answer the bell. Ole Miss takes out the Tigers 55-49. Jackson Dart looked like a star quarterback in this game. 439 and 5 touchdowns for him. Judkins had 181 and 2 touchdowns. They had 317 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing as a team. 300 yards rushing. Special performance. That LSU defense is not anything remotely close. Honestly, it's distasteful to compare this year's LSU's defense to the LSU defenses of past. Even when LSU was bad, right? When they were being mid, they still had a solid defense, right? That was a trademark. No matter what, LSU was going to have some dogs on that defense. There is not a single dog, there's not a tiger, as they really would say, on that defense, okay? They got carved off like a hot knife through butter. Boy, oh boy. It is not good out there. Trey Harris, 8 receptions, 153 and a touchdown, including the go-ahead game winner from Dart with, 39 seconds to go. Jordan Watkins had 5 receptions, 103 and a touchdown. Dayton Wade had 7 receptions, 64 yards and a touchdown. Struck for Ole Miss on the defensive side of the ball. If we're going to highlight anybody, had 5 sacks. 5 sacks. No, that was only Khalil Mack. We'll get to that in the NFL segment. 5 tackles, 2 sacks. But yeah, this was all offense. Jaden Daniels did everything he could to win this game. He had 513 yards and 5 touchdowns. Logan Diggs did everything he could to win this game. 101 and 2 touchdowns. BT Jr., Brian Thomas Jr. is one of them ones. I know we talk about neighbors who had 8 receptions, 102 in this game. But BT Jr. needs some credit, all right? He's one of them ones as well. 8 receptions, 124 and a hat trick. And it wasn't enough. It was not enough. Because hotty toddy. The Tigers, LSU is in trouble. I don't know how they're ranked still, by the way, but they are in trouble. Now, College Game Day took a trip over to Durham. It should have been great. What a time to be alive. What a time to be we've had plenty of college basketball game days, right? But never a college game day. And Duke had this game. Oh, they had this game. They had this game. But you know what? Prevent defense is, unless it is like, just, at this point, don't run prevent. Run like a cover 4. but do not run prevent defense because it just never it never ever accumulates to anything good. And honestly, Duke did a good job. First 2 downs, they didn't do it. They didn't run prevent. But on that 3rd down, which is now going to be famous in Notre Dame and Duke history, certainly Duke history, Notre Dame has a little bit more, notable things that have ever happened. But nonetheless, Sam Hartman, with one of his legacy-defining moments, runs for the 3rd down, gets the 1st down. Audric Estime on the very next play goes 30 yards for the game winner. And Notre Dame escapes. And I mean escapes, Derm. Riley Leonard got injured. I mean, it was the worst minute in Duke football history. Potentially giving up the game winner to lose the game, giving up the 3rd down to set up the game winner, and then your star quarterback, who has been great this year, wasn't great in this game necessarily, but was great this year, gets a sprained ankle on the last play of the game, in which could have been much, much worse. It honestly looked much worse. His knee got rolled up. Almost as bad as Brew McCoy, by the way. Prayers. Hoping the best for him. But that injury, by the way, he suffered in that South Carolina game was really, really, really bad. It almost looked like that happened to Riley Leonard in this game, but did not. He only sprained his ankle, so some hope there. But still, this is still going to be a season-altering loss for Duke, unfortunately. But it was a great defensive battle. Estime ends up with only 81 yards, and of course he got the 2 touchdowns. Again, he got 30 of those yards on the last play of the game for Notre Dame. So he got held to 51 yards for the majority of this game. He didn't get loose. Sam did not get loose. Defensively, it was much more interesting. Mitchell Evans had 6 receptions, 134, though, for Notre Dame. Carried that offensive load. Howard Cross had 13 tackles, 1 sack, and 3.5 TFLs for Notre Dame. And that really carried them over the hump, honestly. It was some individual performances, which has been the story of the week. A lot of great individual performances to put their teams, kind of ahead of the curve and be able to lift these teams. But yes, Duke, it's agonizing. So close to greatness. Notre Dame needed this win. Sam Hartman comes through when it matters, and yeah, they survive another week. And sometimes that's the name of the game. It was the name of the game for Washington, who got taken to the brink in a much closer game than they would have anticipated versus Arizona. But of course it happened because, again, Pac-12 after dark in the desert is just a dangerous place. Michael Penix remains the yardage leader in the NCAA, at least in the FBS, but did not throw a touchdown, okay? Did not throw a touchdown, did not run for a touchdown. It was not Penix's finest game. He had 363, but this was not at all, we've been talking about NFL tape for guys, right? And we had some guys get their NFL tape this week. Ray Davis, John Brooks, the LSU and Ole Miss offenses. But oh boy, this was not the NFL tape for Michael Penix. If you watch this game, this was not Michael Penix's game. Still okay, but that yardage was more of like an accumulation rather than Penix is going off. Dylan Johnson, however, 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. Roma Doozy did have 8 receptions and 98 yards. I do have to give a shout out to Noah Fafita, former Servite High quarterback who made his first career starts with JDL out for Arizona. Fafita had that offense rolling the way we hadn't seen so far from Arizona this year. He had 233 touchdowns, threw a pick. He looked like a freshman at times, but still, he looked like the future of that position at Arizona. And honestly, with the vacuum potentially about to open up at quarterback, he could be one of the top quarterbacking prospects going forward. But that's looking ahead, so we will see. But yes, him and Cowing, 8 receptions, 61 yards and a touchdown. They kept Arizona in this game. Every time Washington tried to pull away, Arizona would strike back. They would strike back. Every time Washington thought they had this game put away and it was going to be another mauling, Arizona pulled them back. Every single time. But Washington got the W. They will take it. The same way we took that win versus Arizona State in the desert, they will take this one against the Wildcats. So yeah, Washington lives to fight another day. Penix, he'll be fine. Of course, again, he still has to play USC, so he'll get all those touchdowns back. Don't you worry, Husky fans. And to end off this segment, Bama beat the bejesus out of Mississippi State again. They ran the ball more. I told you, listen, just run, okay? Take the ball. They ran 40 times, I think, in this game, which is what they should do. Run the ball. Just run the ball. All right, Milrow's more dangerous with the ball out of his hands or at least running the ball, okay? Do not make him have to throw. And if you're a defense, obviously, you're going to stack. I'd stack the box with Bama almost. I know Jermaine Burton is dangerous and Milrow can still hit those home runs, but Bama going forward, they got to realize they got to run the ball. They did it well in this game against Mississippi State, who were just lost, which a rough situation with Leach, so I kind of get it, but Mississippi State just looks lost as the program, and I don't know how they're going to fix it with the SEC only getting worse. Well, yeah, in a down year for the SEC, but I mean the SEC's competition, it's only going to get worse for them. It's going to get, steeper and harder with Texas, Oklahoma coming in. So we will see what happens there. Penn State took out Northwestern after a really rough and a very close first half. Drew Allard just kind of took over, and that Penn State team went ghost on Northwestern, to simply put it, and ended up pulling away for a very impressive win. Penn State, one of the teams to watch, I think, especially as the Big Ten. We start to get to some of those, bigger games, and they get through some of these, you know how the early season is, and we start to get to the meat of the schedule. Penn State, I think, is definitely a team to watch. Allard could be on Superstar Watch. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is college football. And now it is time to talk about the fight game, and specifically, oh my goodness, sorry, Mike. Specifically, we are talking boxing. Canelo, Cinnamon. Listen, we knew. By the way, I didn't do a preview. I meant to do a preview for this last week, but I didn't do one. But we didn't need one because we all knew, okay? We all knew. Some of you may have been like, but we all knew, all right? Credit to Jermell for daring to be great and jumping up 2 weight classes, even though this fight definitely should have been his brother. Not that I really think it would have made too much of a difference, but nonetheless, credit to Jermell for, dropping his undisputed title, his undisputed claim at 154 to go up to 168 and see if he could go against the king. But the king is the king for a reason, and the king of boxing is Canelo Alvarez. Yachty, unanimous decision. It was the right, he just dominated. Normally it takes Canelo. Sometimes we see him, you might take a few of the first couple rounds while he kind of settles in and really starts to punish you. That didn't happen. Canelo won the early rounds. He won the middle rounds. He won the late rounds. He won all of the rounds just about. And Canelo just in a dominant, classic Saul Canelo Alvarez performance, simply put, beat the brakes off of Jermell Charlo. It wasn't a mauling, of course, like Crawford and Spence, but Derrick James is now 0 for 2 in these super fights. So yeah. Not a great year. Maybe Ryan Garcia, his fight announcement coming this week, it'll bode better for Derrick James, but just not good. It's just not being good for a Derrick James fighter in these super, against the best of the best. It's just not been good. They haven't been the best of the best. But yeah, Jermell, to no one's surprise, gets UD'd by Canelo. Canelo is still that guy. I think Benavidez should be next. He is now the first man, by the way, to defend all 4 belts 3 times. So yeah, shout out to Canelo. King for a reason. I know a lot of people after the Bivol, wanted to drop him, from that pound-for-pound king status, but I think he still absolutely has a claim. Absolutely has a claim, and is at minimum top 3. Minimum top 3. Canelo is still that guy. Also in boxing news, we will finally have an undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in, 20 years? Because I don't think Klitschko became undisputed, so yeah. For the first time in a very, very long time, we will have our undisputed heavyweight champion, hopefully, unless this fight gets canceled. But it was made official. Tyson Fury will be taking on Alexander Usyk. We will talk more about that fight, of course, as it gets closer. But yes, I'm very excited to see this fight and finally see it come to fruition. It's going to be very interesting, of course, with Usyk's style and Fury being Fury. It's a massive legacy fight in terms of, where we end up placing these 2 guys in terms of, the all-time greats. It's going to have a big impact. If Usyk becomes a double undisputed champion, then ain't no telling, right? Ain't no telling. For Fury, this might define where he's, put as a heavyweight. So, very big game. We will see what happens. A very big game. Very big match. And yeah, very excited to see it. Now, let's talk ENT, entertainment. Gen V finally came out, alright? We have a new TV series to talk about. Happy days. Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out. And listen, of course, spoiler alert on this. The Boys, I've been waiting for this. It's The Boys, basically like the University spinoff. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this. But yeah, it was good. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yo, it was the greatest show of all time. But it was good. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people enjoyed it for the most part. So yeah, it was good. Marie. Shout out to Jazz Sinclair, by the way. But yeah, very interesting story. Very interesting to see the, very interesting to see kind of how everybody's powers, a lot of new interesting powers I'm going to talk about here. But yeah, Marie with the blood bending, which feels like a super OP power. But nonetheless, yeah, just kind of seeing her story, her trying to get in, she gets in, and then just kind of gets to realize what this life is really like, and now she's trying to, free Sam, Golden Boy. Shout out to, I didn't even realize that was Patrick Schwarzenegger, but yeah, he definitely has he got some acting chops. Pat got some acting chops. Honestly, I'd have been cool. I was kind of sad when Luke died because I was looking forward to seeing kind of more of Golden Boy, but yeah. Luke and Golden Boy, seeing that, I like the ranking system, kind of gives us that kind of dystopian feel. But yeah, it was good. Kate and Andre, very interested to see where that goes. Again, I thought she was going to be, I was really, because the boys, we've been taught all these bad things about superheroes. So seeing some of these like kids be like actually good has been kind of like throwing me off a little bit. But yeah, I definitely thought Kate was going to be evil, but she's cool. I rock with Kate. Andre, of course, is cool. He's currently number one, then with the expectation of that, which he doesn't really want. I think Jordan has super cool powers where, depending on which, gender she is, she has different powers. And they can just kind of like switch back and forth. That's super tough. And yeah, Sam, see what happens there. Brink, before he died, plotting. He's a piece of, which is classic The Boys. Indria is plotting. I'm very interested to see where her kind of ultimate goal is and more about the forest. So yeah, Gen Z, very good start. We will see what happens. But the first 3 episodes, highly recommend. The Secret Recipe. Lil Yachty, who's been on a hell of a run for the past year, honestly. And J. Cole. And I'm not going to lie to you, Yachty got absolutely washed on this. Now Yachty has been very good this year. Very, very, very good. But he was not good on this song. I'm not going to hold you. That verse was trash. I'm not going to lie to you. That verse was garbage. I mean, it was garbage. Cole put him in the abyss. I mean, got washed. Yachty got washed on this track. Cole with a great verse because, I mean, he's J. Cole. It's kind of the expectation at this point. But yeah, Yachty got washed. I know some people rocked with it. I couldn't play this just because Yachty's verse, and it's the opening verse. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So no playlist on this song, but still something notable to talk about from the week. Shout out to Cole though. It was a great verse. And Yachty, even though he missed this time, has not missed very often this year. So yeah, I think he's got something special cooking up. And I'll be very interested to see when that project comes out. Speaking of projects coming out, For All the Dogs is scheduled to come out this Friday. We will see what happens, but it is supposed to come out this Friday. Will it? I don't know. But it's supposed to. So we should be talking about, on episode 166, talking about the Six God himself dropping his new project and seeing how good that was. But yeah, we will see if For All the Dogs actually drops. But for now, that was entertainment. Whew. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the main event of the evening, which of course is the National Football League. Jordan Love had y'all fooled, man. He had me fooled. I mean, he's still delivering on fantasy, don't get me wrong. All right. But he had me fooled. He got me. He got me. It's the trauma from seeing the Packers only have like 3 quarterbacks in 100 years. It was a trauma, okay? They had me fooled. He got me. Ha, 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 ha. But Jordan Love, he's not. It's not. NFC North. XL. For right now, Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Brett Favre. He's not even Bart Starr. He ain't. He's not one of them ones, okay? So y'all can relax a little bit. Y'all can breathe a little bit. Romeo Dobbs is stepping up big time, but it hasn't mattered. Love, not very good in this game. 246 and 2 picks. He also had a fumble in this game, which wasn't a loss, but still, again, the turnovers are starting to pile up, which we thought was going to be a problem for him going forward. Quay Walker. 19 tackles. Anything with a pulse, he tackled in this game. But that's all the good stuff I have to talk about with the Packers. Because, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Detroit Lions era. Because they are up. They are up. Lions fans, y'all been through it. Y'all have seen superstar after superstar retire early. Y'all have been in the cellar of this division, watching the Vikings, Bears, and Packers all get their turn at the top. It is your time. Okay, Detroit Lions, it is your time. David Montgomery continues to outshine Jahmyr Gibbs, who is never an absolute waste of a pick. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It's not even a running back by committee, right? It's not even equal on touches. No, David Montgomery is running back 1 in Detroit, and I don't think he's going to let go of that. 121 and 3 touchdowns. I have no idea why y'all drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. No idea. He has no point on this offense. He's not being used. It is a waste of a first-round pick. But other than that, y'all have been perfect drafting-wise. Brian Branch, how many times are we going to say his name this year? Defensive Rookie of the Year. Aiden Hutchinson still can't be blocked. He had 1.5 sacks. And Jerry Jacobs had 2 picks in this game. All right? The Lions are up. They are up. It's up. Now let's go to London, all right? Let's go to London town. The Jaguars needed to get their swagger back, and boy, oh boy, did they, and do that in this game. Trevor Lawrence with a much, much better outing. 207, only 207, and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder, however, is y'all better be drafting a quarterback this year. Arthur Smith, by the way, is a football terrorist. Certainly an offensive football terrorist. He's a known fantasy football terrorist. But he is he's an offensive terrorist. I don't know what offense they are running in Atlanta, but it ain't working, and Ridder is not the answer at quarterback. Y'all better draft one and be getting an offensive coordinator. That's all I'm saying, Atlanta. Bijan is going to cook. He had 105 in this game in this 19 offense. Still had 105. Still was cooking. I mean, absolutely. By the way, this is a Toy Story broadcast game. That juke was absolutely hilarious. Had me in stitches in the morning. But, besides that, yeah, please go get an OC. But Jags, congratulations, Calvin Ridley got in the box. Welcome back to life. The Miami Dolphins, welcome back to earth. The Buffalo Bills put it on them. A statement. This was a statement. A statement win for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen said, y'all must have forgot who was king in the AFC East, because it ain't y'all. And y'all ain't the only offense that can put up numbers, and Tua's not the only quarterback that can put up numbers in this division. Josh Allen reminded us all who he was. He went 21 for 25, threw 20 and 4 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, he had a touchdown rushing, so that is a grand total of 337 yards and 5 touchdowns for Josh Allen in this game. An MVP-esque performance. I'm not going to call him the MVP like Dan Orlovsky did on First Take this morning, because I think that's a little bit of a stretch. We're only 4 weeks. Let's calm down on MVP talks. But he balled out. All right, he looked the part of the franchise quarterback. Stephon Diggs could not be covered, could not be stopped, could not be held. 6 receptions, 120, and a hat trick for Diggs. He was dominant. Greg Rousseau had 2 sacks in this game. Micah Hyde had a pick of Tua Tagovailoa in this game as well. Tua, he just didn't have his stuff. He didn't have his stuff. You know who did, though? Akane is still that guy. 8 carries, 101, 2 touchdowns. He is who we thought Jahmyr Gibbs was. I mean, an absolute steal. A steal, and he is blessing fantasy owners around the world currently. He gets it done. Alex Earl's boyfriend had 6 receptions, 43 yards, and a touchdown in this game. Shout out to Barrios. AVG had 2 sacks, but again, the Bills, all Bills in this game. Buffalo makes a statement versus Miami. Oh boy, let's talk about the Caleb Williams Bowl. All right, the Caleb Williams Bowl. And listen, I'm not sure if either one of these teams really necessarily needs Caleb. But nonetheless, the game that I said should have been flexed to Thursday morning ended up being one of the best games of the week, if you're a Denver Broncos fan. You know, it really came down to it, man. It really came down. Who wants that number 1 overall pick more? You know, who wants it more? Who's more dedicated to being a joke? Who really has that lack of dog in them to really give up a lead? Who's really about this losing game? Who's really about it? And through 3 quarters of this game, we thought it was the Broncos. Caleb might as well stay because they're going to be needing a quarterback. They are going to be needing a quarterback next year. The Broncos will be getting the number 1 overall pick. That is what we thought for 3 quarters of this game. 28-7. Until 14 seconds left in that third quarter, and it just all went to for the Bears. I mean, it all went to not 1, not 2, not 3, not but 4. 4 straight scoring drives for the Denver Broncos, and the count here has 7, 14, 21, That is 24 unanswered points for the Denver Broncos as they come from the abyss to beat the Chicago Bears, who somehow blew a 28-7 lead almost exclusively in the fourth quarter. It was incredible to watch. Justin Fields plays the game of his life. He broke the completions for in a row. He was 16 for 17 in the first half. He was perfect. He looked like Justin Fields again. He was having fun. He was Justin Fields. 335 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. But he was great. He was Justin Fields. Khalil Herbert, 103. DJ Moore even got cooking. 8 receptions, 131 and a touchdown. Cole Kmet had 7 receptions, 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. It looked like the Bears finally had figured it out, but no. The will to lose is everlasting in Chicago. From the depths of winning, they found a way. From the jaws of victory, they grabbed defeat like no team in the NFL can but them. And they lost this game. Somehow, some way, Chicago did what Chicago does best and found a way to lose. It was honestly remarkable. Russell Wilson, 21 for 28, 223 and 3 touchdowns. I was ready to cook Russ, but I can't say anything because Russ showed up. It wasn't Russ. I mean, it was Russ in this way. Russ cooked. We let Russ cooked. We finally let Russ cook, and it worked out. Okay, it finally worked out for the Broncos. They came from the depths. Nick Bonito, 4 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 TFLs, 2 QB hits, 1 pick for Kareem Jackson as well. But from the depths, all right, from nowhere, from the top rope, the Denver Broncos came back and won this game. Poor Seth Rollins, poor Bears fans. I mean, it was the greatest day. It was so funny on Twitter, man. It was so hilarious. It was so funny as a neutral to see how joyous the Bears were. Like, yo, Justin Fields. Okay, but yes, Matt Canada. By the way, this stat was bestowed upon me this morning. Has in his time as Steelers offensive coordinator since he's taken over, has not a single 400-yard game. Not passing, not rushing. No, a single 400-yard total game. There have been, every other team has at least 4. He doesn't have 1. I don't care what the numbers say that they're the 28th or 20th. This is the worst offense. It's Brian Ferentz level at Iowa, what Matt Canada is doing in Pittsburgh. And it's not even that they don't have talent. They have talent. It's just the offense it sucks. All right, it sucks. Kenny Pickett might not be that guy, but it still sucks. It reeks. All right, absolutely reeks in Pittsburgh. And yeah, the Texans beat it's inexcusable. All right, inexcusable to lose to the Houston Texans that badly, but nonetheless. The Minnesota Vikings finally get their first win of the season. The Carolina Perkins, oh gosh. It's They don't even have their pick. So I can't even say they're tanking. They're just not a good team. Once again, I told you, and boy, oh boy, they are not good. Bryce Young, the pressure is starting to get on Bryce because CJ is balling out currently in Houston, and Carolina sucks. And Bryce does not look great. So the heat is starting to come. Kirk Cousins wasn't even good in this game. He's been really good to start the season, but he was not good at all in this game. He went 139, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns. Quite possibly the most mid-game possible. Jettas, don't get it wrong, 6 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. He does that in his sleep. Madison finally had over 90 yards in a game, which is a Christmas miracle. Harrison Smith was unstoppable. 14 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 TFLs. He didn't even need a pass deflection or a pick. Harrison Smith went off in this game. Off. And the Carolina Panthers, it was a disaster. And it's going to be a disaster this year. That's the only way I can put it. They are not going to be a competitive team. And they do not have their first overall pick. They don't have a first round pick. And it's going to be a very high pick. So I hope Bryce ends up being worth it. Because right now, it is looking like a very steep price in Charlotte. The Rams end up sneaking out a win in Indianapolis, 29-23 in overtime. Puka continues to... Listen, I said C.J. Stroud was running away with Rookie of the Year, but that was for the AFC. On the NFC, it's Puka, and it's not even close. Puka Nakau continues to cook. 9 receptions, 163 yards, and the game winner. But you know what? I think a larger discussion needs to be had about... It might not... Puka's a really good receiver, don't get me wrong. Very talented. But it might just be... It might be McVay in this Rams offense and Matthew Stafford. I think some credit needs to be given there. When we're talking about, these receivers, when they go up to the Rams, they just produce, right? These sure-handed receivers, Cooper Kupp, right, we're seeing now. Puka. Tutu Atwell's had his moments throughout the season. It might just be the scheme, and Stafford is that good. That good at finding guys, that good at highlighting guys, that good at finding guys when they're open. It might just be a Stafford in the Rams thing. I think that they need more credit. Kyron Williams continues to produce as well. 103 and 2 touchdowns. I think the Rams just have a really, really good offensive scheme. Not that these players aren't good, but I think more credit needs to be given to McVay and the Rams and what they've built on that offense to where they can get the most out of players. Because that is what they do. When the Rams go and get somebody, regardless of how much hype is behind them, they go and they produce. They produce. They have a track record now of guys just producing. So I think more credit needs to be given there to the Rams. Shout out to them. Aaron Donald made his presence known to Anthony Richardson in this game, who was okay. 11 for 25, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So AR has still been better than I think a lot of people, even I, thought he was going to be this season. But, like I said, it unfortunately was not enough, and they could not hold it down. Zaire Franklin continues to be an all-pro. He had 12 tackles in this game, half sack. How many tackles is he up to for the season? Yeah, 36. He's been phenomenal. But they couldn't close the game out, and the Rams come back, get the win in overtime. Congratulations to Puka and Matt. The New Orleans Saints, welcome to purgatory. Even with Carr back, welcome to purgatory. Baker Mayfield. Heard all the talk about Baker Mayfield's not an NFL quarterback. Baker Mayfield can't start. And right now, he is looking like the answer. Not just a stopgap. He's looking like the answer potentially in Tampa Bay. He had 246 and 3 touchdowns on the road in New Orleans. Walk in your trap, took over your trap. The Saints are just, it ain't good out here, man. It ain't good out here. It is not good out here. AK-41, welcome back. He had only 51 yards, which I think was good enough for y'all parlay players. I think the over-under was 50, right? So I think y'all got that by a yard, actually. But otherwise, nothing of anything remarkable for the Saints, who are, like I said, in purgatory. The Eagles narrowly beat the Commanders in a game that they are absolutely not getting slandered for, which is kind of crazy, in my opinion, with the way that, you know what, it's hypocritical, but the Eagles are 4-0. They're 4-0. They got the win, 34-31. That's what matters. Jake Elliott with the game winner in overtime. Jalen Hurts, I asked, could he air the ball out? Finally, he did. 319, 2 touchdowns. Hurts looked like Hurts last year for the first time this season. Swift didn't have to lead the charge. It was Hurts, okay? A.J. Brown, 9 receptions, 175, and 2 touchdowns in this game. Nicholas Morrow, 11 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs. That Eagles defense, even though it wasn't their best, still somebody from that front seven continues to step up. And that's what happens when you build a front seven as good as the Eagles have. Somebody's going to step up. Even when you don't have as great of a game as they did here against the Commanders, somebody's going to step up and make plays. It was him in this case. Sam Howell had a much better game than he had last week where he threw, 4 interceptions? No interceptions this week, 290 and a touchdown. But like I said, ultimately, it was not enough. It was not enough. They couldn't get enough stops, and the Eagles were able to drive down the field. Jake Elliott, one of the best kickers in the world, did what he does. 54 yards, walk-off. Eagles win at home. They stay undefeated. The Cincinnati Bengals. I said maybe it's time to hit the panic button. Panic. The Titans just beat y'all 27-3. Panic. What did I say? Why did you bring him back so early? Joe Burrow is clearly not. I don't need to see him limp to know he ain't healthy. This is not Joe Burrow from last year. This is not Joe Burrow from the year before. This is not Joe Burrow from his rookie season. I don't know who this is playing quarterback for the Bengals, but it's not going to win y'all games. Sit him. Let him get healthy because he cannot drive the ball. He is not half of what he was. Burrow is not half of what he was. That made him the highest paid player in the league. Not half of it. But for whatever reason, the Bengals brought him back early instead of just toughing it out, letting your superstar quarterback get back healthy so you can get him playing like a superstar and not like a scrub, which is what Joe Burrow has been through the first 4 weeks of the season. He has been bad, awful, garbage, reeks. He reeks. Ugh. Trash. Absolutely trash. Which I never thought I would say about Joe Shiesty. But here we are. All because the Bengals decided to bring him back far too early, clearly. It ain't working out. Simply put, it ain't working out. King Henry went off in this game. He needed a game like this. 122 and a touchdown for King Henry. The Titans destroy the Bengals. Panic mode engaged. The Chargers narrowly beat the Raiders 24-17. Jay Herbo. That throw he threw, by the way, to Josh Palmer to put this game away was muy caliente. Perfect. Fire. Jay Herbo to finish his name because it was on the stake, all right? He was only 13 for 24, 167 and a touchdown. He did run the ball very well in this game, by the way. He only had 27 yards because of sacks, and he had 2 touchdowns. But credit where credit's due. Herbo, when he needed to run, he ran very well. And, of course, got those 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, 3 touchdowns on the day for Jay Herbo. And, of course, he defended his name. No 19 billion receptions this week for Keenan. Only 3 receptions, but he did have a touchdown. 6. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6. 6 sacks for Khalil Mack. 6 touchdowns by Khalil Mack would have been otherworldly. But 6 sacks in this game. 1 away from the NFL record for Mack. After he was not great all year, by the way. A lot of people were wondering, is Khalil Mack washed? He answered all those questions this week by, an absolute one of his greatest, if not his best all-time performance for the future Hall of Famer. Mack went off. 6 sacks in this game. Max Crosby, by the way, not to be overshadowed, but he was. Had 2 sacks as well. But yeah, the Chargers, barely. Raiders give a little bit of a fight, but they do get the much-needed win. The Cowboys beat the brakes off the Patriots. And, we needed this. All right, Mac Jones, by the way, he's done. 150 and 2 picks. He's done. He got benched in this game. I tried to tell y'all. Y'all didn't want to believe me. Y'all were like, oh, he's the next Tom Brady. Mac Jones, I told y'all at Bama. He's a solid quarterback, probably a backup now as we see him in the NFL. He's solid, but he had an all-time great receiving corps that did a lot of the heavy lifting. It was the same questions, honestly, except Stroud is clearly better than Mac Jones. So I don't even want to make that comparison in terms of receiving corps, even though Stroud played with once again, an all-time great receiving corps at Ohio State. But Stroud was clearly better than Mac Jones. But I had those questions about Mac, and boy, are they rearing their head now, because he is not that guy. He is not the answer. The Patriots will be in the quarterback running because Mac Jones is not their franchise quarterback, simply put. But you know what? I ain't mad at it. I don't think anybody in the league is mad at it because after the Patriots dominated for 2 decades, y'all had the greatest player in the greatest dynasty for 2 decades of pure happiness, joy, and pure winning. Just winning year after year. Clinical amounts of winning. y'all deserve some time off in purgatory. So welcome to purgatory, Patriots. Dak Prescott continues to get slandered. He doesn't deserve it, though, this week. 261 and a touchdown in his game. But we could not be stopped defensively. Dayron Brand had a pick 6. He filled in very good. Did a very good Trayvon Diggs impression. So, yeah. Shout out to Bland. We might be okay. Again, our defense is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be dominant. Micah Parsons did not have a sack in this game. So, maybe that's a little bit of a victory. A small victory for the Patriots. But, nonetheless, Cowboys roll. How about them boys? 49ers, who we play next week, are still the best team in the league, 35-16. CMC needs to be in MVP conversations. And if he's not, he's just because he's a running back, which is a load of crap. Because honestly, he might be the leading MVP candidate. He does everything still. 77 yards total in this game for CMC. And 4 touchdowns with 7 receptions. Absolutely dominant. The Cardinals could do nothing. Could do nothing to stop him. I mean, it was easy for Purdy. It was easy. He goes 20 for 21 in this game, by the way. 283 and a touchdown. Near perfect game for Brock Purdy. But it was easy because CMC could not be stopped. He could not be stopped. In an age where running backs are seen as expendable, he is the clear-cut best player on this team. And he is not expendable. He is an asset, the ultimate asset, potentially offensively in this game today. CMC dominant. Ayuk continues to emerge as the number 1 receiver. 6 receptions, 148 for him in this game. And yes, simply put, the 49ers, again, look like the most complete team this year. Michael Wilson, by the way. Shout out to Sophia Smith. 7 receptions, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was not enough, and it never was going to be enough. The 49ers continue to be the best. And to end off this NFL segment, of course, we got to talk about the Taylor Swift game. She brought the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe and Sabrina Carpenter to this game, and the Jets nearly won. No Zach Wilson slander, by the way. None. No Zach Wilson slander this week. 245, 2 touchdowns. He balled out. Now, I know he went and he was like, yo, the game was on me, because he made a couple mistakes here and there, some in crucial moments. But he played fine. He played fine. This game was not on Zach Wilson. Patrick Mahomes, he outplayed Pat Mahomes. Mahomes was terrible in this game. One of the worst games we've seen Mahomes play. Isaiah Pacheco won them this game. 115 and a touchdown. He won them this game. The bigger discussion needs to be on why the refs are protecting the Chiefs. Because that's the only way to put it. They are seemingly got, plot armor of the highest regard. Because that was not a PI on Sauce Gardner. I don't know why none of the Chiefs' offensive line, whether it's holding or false starts, never gets called. I don't get it. But the Chiefs have plot armor, and they get the win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, we have reached the Roundup. And yes, NASCAR. This week we had Talladega, which, of course, is always, I love super speedways, so I will always make sure to tune in for this. Ryan Blaney. It came down to it, but that was an incredible move on the backstretch. Sliced and diced, got down, and then got ahead and did not let it up. Did not let it up. He ekes out William Byron, who once again is still my championship favorite. But he ekes him out and prevents Byron from winning, his 7th race of the year? And Ryan Blaney advances to the round of 8. It is going to be crazy at the Roval next week in Charlotte. It's going to be absolutely nuts. I was at that race last year and it was crazy. It's going to be crazy this year because the points are just so close. Blaney and Byron are clean, but after that, it's a toss-up. It is a toss-up. It is anybody's game. But yeah, Blaney conquers Dega in a really good race in the end, especially as he narrowly beats William Byron. Europe did not narrowly beat USA in the Ryder Cup. In fact, it was dominant. It was dominant. The score makes it look closer than it was because from the start of the weekend, Europe put it on the U.S. In the Ryder Cup, just dominant fashion. Tommy Fleetwood with the winner against Justin Thomas. And yeah, Europe, they get the trophy back. Congrats. Hopefully we can get it back from them next time around. But congrats to Europe. They were the better team. They've been, it's been a lot of great European golfers, especially been in really good form lately. So makes sense. They were very happy about it. Very emotional. I know tennis is trying to get that kind of going with the Laver Cup. We'll see if it picks up the prominence in the prestige, and you could see how much that went into Team Europe. We'll see if that starts to pick up with the Laver Cup in tennis. But for now, congrats to Europe. WNBA. It's the finals we all knew was going to happen. All right, we all knew it was going to be Aces and the Liberty. Still interesting how we got here. The Aces end up sweeping the Wings. Satu and Enrique didn't have enough. The Aces looked to go back-to-back. In the Liberty, the Sun took them to 4. All All right, they took him to 4. Hell, AT had a triple-double here in Game 4, but Stewie had 27, and the Liberty, again, are just loaded. So here we are with the finals that we knew from the moment that those trades were made and the super teams were assembled. The Celtics and the Lakers of the WNBA here, the Aces and the Liberty. It's going to be this way. As long as they stay healthy, it's probably going to be this way for a while, but certainly this year. But yeah, we'll see who happens. I think the Aces go back-to-back, in my opinion. I just think they're a little bit healthier right now, and I think they got a little bit more, and they've been here, so I think they get it done. But we'll see. All right, we'll see, and we'll talk about that here on the A15 Exchange. And to end off, ladies and gentlemen, let me pull up, because the MLB season has concluded, and we now have time for the playoffs. The MLB playoffs, which unfortunately the Yankees are not taking part of for the first time in a while. But still, one of the most wonderful times of the year. The wild card. Let's talk about it. We got the Twins, who had a great season. I believe won the Central as well, taking on the Toronto Blue Jays in what should be an interesting matchup. We have Rangers taking on the Rays. In the other one, the Rays, of course, have been dominant in the American League. Honestly, besides the Astros, have been the team in the American League, to put it bluntly. So, yeah, they are always a factor. We'll see if the Rangers, who, welcome back to the playoffs, can put a dent in that legacy they currently, in this kind of era the Rays are in. On the west side, on the National League, Arizona, Milwaukee, and Miami-Philly. Miami-Philly is going to be really interesting. Of course, the Phillies won the National League last year. They have been rolling as of late, especially down the stretch of the season. Made it 4th in the wild card. So we'll see what can happen. Or if Miami just has it. Luis Arias won the batting title. First man to do it back-to-back years in the AL and then in the NL. Shout out to Arias. We will see what happens there. Of course, the Orioles and the Braves are the number 1 seeds and are going to be heavy favorites probably to make the World Series. Certainly the Braves. Who were the class? I mean, they were class. We talked about them all year. Acuna's going to win MVP. Spencer Strider might even win Cy Young. He was the only man to win 20 wins this season. So we will see. I think the Braves, of course, are championship favorites. But, of course, if they face the Dodgers, ain't no telling. Astros, of course, have been one of the dominant teams of this era. They are the number 2 seed in the AL. They are always going to be a factor as long as they got that core over there. And, of course, the Orioles, the young Orioles who have emerged and taken over the MLB this year. And I'm probably going to be here for it. Get used to seeing the Orioles, by the way, in a top spot in the AL. We'll see what they can do in their first kind of playoff experience. But, yeah, should be very interesting. Welcome to the MLB playoffs. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you next week for episode 166. For all the dogs, maybe. And next week we will have a Logan KSI prime card if Dennis is still going to fight, and Tommy Fury. We will have the preview for that, along with anything else that happens in the world of college football and the NFL. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.